Section 3 is on factoring. And what is factoring? Well, factoring truly is unfoiling. So I'm going to get very technical here and call it unfoiling. So everything you did yesterday, today we're going to learn how to work ourselves backwards. Okay, and there's a lot of different methods. So today we're going to go over 2 of them. And the first one is just taking out a greatest common factor. So if I look at 5wz, 25wz squared z, 35w to the third z, I want to know the greatest thing I can take out of all 3, okay, which would be a 5, and how many variables I can take out. So I can take 1w and 1z out of each. Okay, so the greatest that you can take out of all. So one that I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5wz and I'm going to pull it outside the parentheses. Okay, and then what you're going to do is kind of divide each piece here by that 5wz to see what you have left. Well, 5wz divided by 5wz is 1. Now if I take 5wz squared z divided by 5wz, 25 divided by 5 is 5. W squared divided by w is w, and then the z's cancel each other out. Okay, and then if I divide that last piece by 5wz, it's going to leave me with 7w squared. Okay, so I have factored out that first part into a common factor and then what's left over. That first part is kind of confusing to students. So what you're thinking about is, okay, if I were to go back and distribute my 5wz through here, would I get what I started with? Well, absolutely. Okay, so think about it as what am I missing or what would I have to multiply by to get back to my original if I take out this chunk out here? Okay, so we'll try another one. I know this is going to be a kind of weird day, but we'll work through it. Okay, so in part B, I'm going to first look at my numbers, 24 and 60. The greatest common factor I can take out of both of those is a 12. Now when I think about that, now I'm going to look at my p's. Well, I have 3 p's in the first one and 2 p's in the second one. So the greatest factor I can take out is 2 of them. If I look at the t's now, I've got 2 in the first and 1 in the second, so the greatest one I can take out is 1t. Okay, so that's the chunk I take out, and now I'm going to say, what am I missing? Well, I know I'm going to be missing 2 things, so I have to fill in the blank here twice. 12 times what gets me to the 24? 2. P squared times what gets me to p to the third? 1p. T times what gets me to t squared? Another t. So if you don't like that dividing idea from the first one, you can just think about what you're missing. Okay, so now if I say, okay, 12 times what gets me to the 60 that I'm looking for? 12 times 5. P squared times how many p's get me to p squared? Well, they're already there, so I don't need any. And then t times what gets me to t? That's already there. So if I kind of clean this up so that looks a little nicer, it would be 12p squared t in parentheses 2pt plus 5. Okay, again, if you are to distribute this back, you will get what you started with, okay, and that is your entire goal. Okay, so that's taking out a greatest common factor. Believe it or not, that was the easiest one. Okay, we also have these theorems that are the sum or difference of squares here. Okay, and we'll kind of keep those in mind as we look at this one. So letter C says x squared minus 64. Well, hopefully you realize that subtraction is the difference, and x squared and 64 are both perfect squares. So if you look in that box to the right, you have a formula that says a squared minus b squared equals, and then a plus b, a minus b. Okay, so a squared minus b squared is exactly what you have, they're just different variables. So what you want to do is break yours up, okay, into 2 parentheses and write what they did here. So how did they get from a squared to a? They just took the square root. So we're going to have x and x. They have a plus and a minus. So we're going to have a plus and a minus. And then they took the square root of the second one as well. So the square root of 64 is 8 and 8. So our factors are x plus 8, x minus 8. Okay, again, if we were to FOIL this through, okay, we'd get x squared minus 8x plus 8x minus 64. Okay, so the x's would cancel and we'd get x squared minus 64, which again is exactly what you start with. So all we're doing is factoring it out. We're doing the opposite of what we did yesterday. Okay, so this is our answer, x plus 8, x minus 8. Okay, example D is the exact same, okay, because 9m to the 4th n squared is a perfect square, and so is 49. So you're going to take the square root of both. Okay, so the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of m to the fourth is m squared, and the square root of n squared is n. Okay, minus square root of 49 is 7. Okay, and then the second parentheses is the exact same thing, only with a plus sign. Again, if you were to FOIL that back out, I promise you, you'll get exactly what we started with. Okay, part E says, it does not say this. It says m squared plus 6m plus 9. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so this is not a difference of squares at all, okay? Rather, this is something completely different. So now we don't really have a rule of thumb. Now we're kind of on to the trial and error portion. Okay, so now we're going to say, okay, I know I need two factors. The first thing you're going to look at is this first piece. So I know I have to get to m squared. So I'm going to say, okay, what would multiply to m squared? Well, that'll be m and m. Okay, now the next part you're going to look at is the 9. And I know that that seems weird, but the next part you're going to look at is the 9. And you're going to say, okay, what could multiply to 9? Well, that would be 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. So you've got two options. But then you're going to look at this middle piece and say, okay, I have to get 6m out of it. So how am I going to get 6? Okay, I'm going to get that with a 3 and 3. And I'm going to get it by adding 3 and adding 3. Okay, so now again, if this is weird for you, FOIL it out. Okay, FOIL it out. M squared plus 3m plus 3m plus 9. And this gives me the 6m in the middle that I'm looking for. Okay, so these are our factors. Okay, so let's try another perfect square. Oh, there was the one I was looking for before. Okay, so in F, or which is your F, I'm really sorry, I don't know what happened here. Okay, in our F, we've got 36x squared minus 60x plus 25. Okay, so again, you're going to draw your two parentheses, and you're going to say, okay, what multiplies to 36x squared? 99% of the time, if this number is a perfect square, you should square root it. Okay, so we're going to use 6x, and we're going to use 6x. Okay, then you look at the last number. Okay, so remember, you're looking at first and last. Options for 25. Again, I just said 99% of the time, if it's a perfect square, square root it. So let's try 5 and 5. Now we're going to look at our middle. So we went first, outside, middle. Okay, we're supposed to get a negative 60. Okay, so I'm going to try a minus and a minus. So now if I FOIL, I get 36x squared. Outsides give me a negative 30x. Insides give me a negative 30x, and the outsides give me a plus a 25. Okay, so negative 30 and negative 30 is the negative 60 that I was looking for, so I'm good to go. Okay, so I know this is gonna, kind of get weird. How do you know? There's lots of options. Okay, write in pencil first of all, and then just know that you did the first and the last for sure. So the only part that's tricky is this middle portion. So when you're checking the middle portion, just check your outsides and your insides. Okay, and we'll try that again on our next one. Okay, so our next one is x squared plus 10x plus 21. Okay, so I've got my parentheses. I'm trying to get to x squared, so I've got x and x. Then you're going to look at the last one. You've got 21. So what multiplies to 21? 1 and 21, 7 and 3. I think that's about it. Now that I've checked my first and my last, I'm going to look at the middle. I have to get 10. Okay, well, hopefully you see that you can get 10 if you add 7 and if you add 3. Okay, now I'm just going to check because I think that's a good thing that you should get in the habit of. And I said check the outsides and the insides. So the outsides here give me 3x and the insides give me 7x. 3x and 7x is the 10x I'm looking for, so I'm good to go. I'll even make a smiley face so we know we checked it. Okay, so we'll try I. Again, first term is what I'm trying to get to first. So I've got x and x. Then you look at the last. Okay, so 16 has a lot of options. We've got 1, 16, 4, 4, 2, and 8. Okay, so now that I look at that, I'm going to look at my middle. I'm trying to get a negative 10 out of that. Okay, so 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's not 10. 4 minus 4 is 0. So, 2 plus 8 is 10. Now I have to get out a negative 10, so I'm going to try minus 8 minus 2. Okay, again, let's check our work, see how we did. So check your outsides, negative 2x. Check your insides, negative 8x. Negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10x, which is what we wanted, so we're good to go. All right, hopefully you're starting to catch on because now I'm going to make it harder. In J, now what's changed is now we've got a 3x. So in our parentheses, we're not going to have x and x. Now we're going to have 3x and x because 3 times 1 is 3, and then x and x is x squared. Okay, you're still looking at your last numbers. So you've got 1 and 10 or 5 and 2. Now things are going to get a little weirder because neither of them get us to the negative 1x that we're looking for. Okay, but this 3 out front here is going to change things for us. So this is why you should do things in pencil. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's pick 5 and 2. Okay, most of the time it's going to be the ones that are not the 1 and that number, the smaller versions. Okay, so let's try 2 and let's try 5. Okay, and I'm just going to leave my signs blank because I'm not sure what's going on right now. So I'm just going to leave that blank. Okay, 50-50 chance. So the outsides right now give me 15x and the insides give me 2x. Is there any way that I can add or subtract 15 and 2 to get me to the negative 1 up here that I'm trying to get to? Absolutely not. Okay, so that doesn't work. So good thing I did this in pencil. So instead of 5 and 2, I'm going to try 2. Oopsies, that's what I just did. Instead of 2 and 5, I'm going to try 5 and 2. Okay, now let's see if that changes anything. Now when I check the outsides, I've got 6x, and now when I check the insides, I've got 5x. So I can get a negative 1 if my 6 is negative and my 5 is positive. Okay, so my 6 came from this overarching one out here, so that's where my negative goes, and my inside is a 5, and that needs to be positive because negative 6 plus 5 is the negative 1 I'm looking for. Okay, so maybe a little bit more guess and check. As you do more of these, I think you'll get better at them. So just don't get frustrated. Just hang in there. Okay, and now we're on to K. So now we've got, or we're on to J. 7x squared minus x minus 6. That's not what yours says either, is it? What happened here? 7x squared minus x minus 8 is what we've got here. Okay, so now we're going to get to 7x and x. Okay, so I had to get to 7x squared. Now I've got options for 8 because that's the next number I'm looking at. So my options for 8 are 1 and 8, 4 and 2. Okay, now I said 99% of the time it's going to be, or a lot of the times it's the smaller numbers. But let's take a look at negative 1 and 8 because I'm trying to get a negative 1 out. So if I put in 8 and 1, let's see, let's try 8 and 1. Now let's check our outsides. That gives me 56x. The insides give me 1x. Okay, well that's not what I'm looking for, so let's scratch that. So let's try, instead of 1 and 8, let's try 8 and 1. Okay, so now I can get a negative 1, right? If I check my outsides, I've got 7x, and I check the insides, I've got 8x. So to get a negative 1, I need a negative on the 8 and a positive on the 7. So my 8 came from the insides, my 7 came from here, so there's my subtraction sign there. Okay, and now we're on to K, which is also not on here, so I really don't know what happened. So we'll just use this page and we'll go to K. So K is 5x squared plus 8x minus 4. Okay, so we'll go ahead and set up our parentheses. So I have to get to 5x squared, so that's going to give me 5x and 5x. Oh boy, now I'm getting flustered. 5x and x. Okay, now look at your last ones. You've got options of 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. And our goal is to get to a positive 8. Okay, so that last time one was kind of weird where it's not going to happen. So let's try the 2 and 2 this time. Okay, so I've got 2 and 2. So I'll go ahead and try my outsides. My outsides give me 10x. The insides give me 2x. I'm looking for a positive 8, so I can do that if I do 10 minus 2. So the 2 came from the inside, so that's minus. The 10 came from the outside, so that's my plus. And I am all set. Okay, and I want to do with L with you tomorrow, so we'll do that one in class. Your brains are probably exploding a little bit, so write down some questions, and we'll go over those tomorrow.